So we're going to have some fun baking this morning. Now, if you've read on in the passage that we heard from Rebecca earlier, you'll see what the dream that Nebuchadnezzar has that Daniel has to interpret. Now, that dream is a dream of a statue that is made up of 5 distinct sections: a head of gold, a torso, arms and upper body of silver, the midriff of bronze, the legs of iron, and the feet of iron and clay. Now we're going to have a go at making a super cookie this morning that is going to be made up of 5 different types of cookie dough. But first of all, we're going to make one cookie dough. And really, as we do this, we want to think about that passage from Daniel, where Daniel has had to rely completely on the Lord for this vision. He hasn't been told it. He hasn't had to listen to what Nebuchadnezzar has done and then make up or come from the Lord to have his vision, his interpretation of that vision. He's had to listen to God for all of it. So read on in the story and find out what happens, what the vision is about, what the dream is about, and what all of those different sections mean. And in the meanwhile, we will make our giant cookie dough statue person, and we'll have a fantastic and very tasty time doing it. First of all, we need to make the main cookie dough. So you will need 230 grams of butter, or in this case I just use baking spread. If you use unsalted butter, remember to add a little bit of salt. 330 grams of light brown sugar and 200 grams of granulated sugar. It's a sweet delight, this. And then we need to mix it all together. Now we need to add the eggs, so 2 large eggs there. These are from my own chickens. And also we're going to add into that 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. And then, guess what? We're going to mix it all up again. Are you ready? Now we're going to add the flour. We're going to sieve in 310 grams of plain flour. And also to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of either baking powder or sodium bicarbonate. So now we've got our main cookie dough, we just need to divide that up into 5 different lots so we can flavour them in different ways to make up that cookie dough person. And then we'll have that fantastic cookie dough statue baked and ready to eat from Daniel. So now we're ready to start adding our flavours. So for my first cookie flavour, I'm going to mix in some oats, and these are dried cranberries. There's probably about a handful of oats here, and a sprinkling, not quite a handful, of cranberries. So mix all of those into the cookie dough. So for our next flavour, we're going to have double choc chips. So these are some smashed up bits of plain chocolate. I like to use chocolate chunks rather than chocolate chips, but that's up to you completely. And we're just really putting a sprinkling into there, as much as you like, as much as you fancy. Too much and it won't work, so don't overdo it. And then also we're going to add to that about a tablespoon of cocoa powder to give it a really double chocolatey flavour. And let's mix it all up. the next flavour, I'm going to use milk chocolate chunks. So again, bashed up milk chocolate bar to make those chunks. I do much prefer those, but not too many, otherwise the chocolate will just burn and go a bit funny in the cookie. So let's get some of those in, put the rest aside to be used in a minute, and let's get mixing. So we're going to use some more of those chocolate chunks now, and to that, in a moment, we're going to add some orange, because that's everybody's favourite flavour, isn't it? Chocolate orange. So here's some orange zest that I've zested from an orange, and let's add that in. But we want a bit stronger orange flavour than that. So don't add orange juice, because that makes it too wet and it's not strong. This is actually an orange essence. So I'm going to add some of those when I can get the lid off. I'm going to add some of those in, probably about a capful or half a capful. Don't put too much, otherwise it gets a bit overpowering because it is strong essence. Okay, so now let's mix it all up again. And for our final flavour, we're going to add peanut butter. So this is about around a tablespoon of peanut butter, chunky of course, and we're going to add that in, and then we'll mix all that up as well. So now we need a baking sheet, and I've lined this with baking parchment because otherwise it just glues itself on. And we're going to make the head, and I'm going to use the peanut butter cookie dough for my head, and then we're going to add all the other things as well. So after the head, we're going to add some cranberry and oats for the shoulders and the arms, and then I'm going to add in, as a midriff, I'm going to use the chocolate orange, which is absolutely delicious. Then for the legs, I'm going to use the double choc. And once we've got all that sorted out, I'm going to add finally my feet, which are the chocolate chip. So once we've done all that, he's ready for the oven. We're going to bake him at 180, so don't forget to preheat the oven. And then we're going to cook him for around half an hour. Now, of course, I've been deciding to bake on the hottest weekend of the year. So I'm thinking that he might spread a little bit in the oven, but pop him into the fridge for at least half an hour, or if you're doing it this weekend and it's really hot, why not put him in the freezer and take him down to sub-zero before you stick him in the oven, and then cook him, as I said, at 180 degrees centigrade for about half an hour. But you might need to keep testing him and add a little bit more time, but don't overcook him, else he won't be that gorgeous gooey in the middle. Now, of course, you might have some dough left over, and you can turn those into individual cookies. I've put them here, and I'm going to freeze them, and then when I've frozen them, I can get them out and cook them from frozen. Of course, if you're doing this on your own, you might want to half the recipe, because you might find there's a bit too much cookie for you. Now, things don't always turn out as we planned, do they? So on a hot day in a hot oven, unfortunately my statue became a little less defined than I had hoped. I hope you do better than me. But now it's your time to choose. So the options will appear on the screen, and you can either choose to go on to the end of the service, or you can do any of the options and do all of them if you want. So choose.